feel peaceful? Are we getting law enforcement that is effective when it comes to dealing with some of our issues? When we lay complaints to the law, if somebody gets hurt, I just walk in the country. When I just enter the country, I want to say walk in the country. I wish I could walk sometimes from where I am here and come and stay for a little bit and go back. We were just discussing a young woman who went to go charge her light, the
Yeah.
rechargeable light,
Mm-hmm.
and the
15 years old.
15-year-old, they found her dead. And that's a sad situation. And your utter peace will come from what happens now to that family to deter other people who want to be destructive to women, who want to violate women. And this is what will create our utter peace. Do we have people who are investigating the situation, talking to the family, looking at all of the laws that will be applied? It was a murder. Was she violated? What happened to her? Once we get those kind of answers rapidly, I think it will create an utter peace and security for women, so that then we'll be able to function even better. We think we're functioning well now in our society. I think we'll be able to function even at a higher rate and contribute more to our society. And I'm saying this because sometimes people feel like, let's not talk about women's issue. Let's not be bothered. It was just one child that, got violated, but that one child could have been somebody who have contributed to our culture, to our country. So the more you suppress women and the issues, the less advanced our society can be. That's my thought. I'll stop now and let you
Yeah.
ask me.
You know, the mother of that child was crying on the radio, and she talked to us, and she said she feels that, the people are not investigating what is going on with what happened to her daughter, because she according to her, the way she feels is that people brab, you know, the police, and that's why they are not getting into the investigation. She had to go to a human rights group, and they are the ones trying to, seek peace for this woman in a way, like talking to them, asking them, they need to get into the investigation, they need to give this family peace. The family they don't have peace. There's nothing of, oh no, we're going to do some test, nothing, that they don't see anything there. Nobody has been arrested. Even where she went for the light, nothing has been done. So this is something that put most women in the position here in Liberia to just be like, cool. At times you want to be provocative, like you want to come out to say things that you are saying. We, for us as journalists, at times we want to go out there to investigate more of what some of these things that have happened to women, to children. For me, I'm really passionate about kids. At times they get abused, they get hurt, people attack them in the streets. I'm there, I want to go back. At times we even try to get physical. And it'll be like, you are a woman, people don't will beat you and hurt you and drag you, and nothing. Where will you go? Nothing is going to happen. I'm a woman, I got hit by a car the other time, and then they called me the next day and they were done. Like the man said, oh boy, what was she doing on the road and all of that. And I was like, if you don't know who you hit, I'm going to get into it. We'll investigate, I will write your boss and all that, because he comes from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But these are things that they do, they don't care because it is a woman.
Yes.
So women feel low here in Liberia. We have most women have low self-esteem, the status, like anything you are discussing, you talk to them, you try to interview them and say, they think that what thing that the main thing. Even with the women, and when we talk, say what will come from other you understand? So it tells you what is happening with most women here in Liberia. Go to the hospitals, single mothers, even mothers that are married, women are being abused in their homes and all of that. You just talk about gender-based violence. It happens here a lot. At homes, women are being abused. Some of them died, in different counties. We try to investigate what has happened. What did they do? They say, oh, the man was arrested. After a while, you see the person right back in the society. They're back in the communities and, moving on, and nothing is happening. So, and then let's come now to women in politics from what you look at here in Liberia.
Yeah.
What will you expect from women when it comes to now that our upcoming elections, we're going to be having elections in October this year? What do you expect from women?
A part of me feel like women have a heavy burden in this country and responsibility to bring change to our country. And I say that from the data that we have. Women make up more than 50% of the population in Liberia right now. So when we look at who's going to win, we look at, how the numbers are going to pan out, right? So if we can get a significant portion of women to participate, and get is the key word. I see you smiling. To participate, we know that then they will have a voice, they will bring change. And that is the battle. How do we do that? Because like you just said, a lot of times women say, oh, do that men thing, or we don't want to be part of that also. So men talking. But I think this is a two-way street. Men have to also understand they have to provide space and room for women to be able to participate. They have to do that legally. They have to do that intentionally, and they have to do that personally. I was sharing with you. I was doing a presentation, and a lot of the boys were coming up and they were just talking. They were on top, they were smart, brilliant young men, were verbalizing their thoughts. And then I saw the women, they were just smiling with me and they knew what were being said. And then I stopped for a minute and I said, no, we're not going to go further until we have women asking questions or making comments, because this forum is being dominated by the boys. And they were just smiling. And so I said, I'm not moving forward until I get two questions. We're going to take a turn by turn. Two questions from women, two questions from men. Now, people will say, well, why can't the women just by themselves just be assertive? Why do we need to have, push them to say two questions for women? The question is, the fact is that women, I was talking to another man, this is a man's world. Women have been put down so much, and it's ingrained in our head that we are not good enough, we cannot express ourselves well enough. Um we and so when people tell you that from childhood, that you are supposed to be calm, nice, smiling, and all of those things. In fact, um I'm going to sidetrack a little bit. In my class, I have asked, we were discussing sexism. And I have asked my students to tally the comments that people make about me on Spoon Talk. And majority of them was about Dr. Richardson's face, her
The makeup,
her makeup,
or
her
hair.
hair. It was just amazing. Okay, as opposed to anything else. And so this is what we in our head kind of have label women to be, put them in that box. And you got to be pretty, you got to be a sex object, you got to be objectified for for a man. And so then women have internalized that. So we as women have to be strong. We need men to provide, to give us the space, personally and intentionally. Okay, even to the fact where they can put in the law that certain portion, well, 30% of women should be, it should be 30% of the legislature should be consist of a certain gender. Those are things that will help. There should be awareness, in school. When you sit in a classroom, teachers supposed to be calling girls. Develop a plan where you call on girls from early on to empower them. uh, some of the studies that we've known to say that when we have girls in all girls school, they tend to be more assertive and empowered because they're among themselves. But once you mix them up with boys, that self-esteem goes down,
Yeah.
because not only because the girls have been, they have this built-in decreased self-esteem, but because teachers then focus on the boys, both men and women. They start to call out on the boys and asking the boys to contribute more than we ask the girls. So then the boys, their self-esteem are growing, their ability to speak continue to grow. Meanwhile, that girl continue to stay in the corner and don't verbalize how she feels. So I think it's a two-way street. This is not a woman's fight only. This fight has to be everyone. Everyone in society, both men and women, have to take on this battle.
That is if the men agree that they want the women to be like, even if you go to career day at schools, elementary or even nursery schools, you see the doctors, or even when some teachers are referring or talking to the kids, they say doctor to the guy, to the boy, and then to the girl, they say nurse.
Yes.
So why can't she be a doctor
Correct.
as well? But then you say she's the nurse and the male is a doctor. But yeah, you are a doctor. Dr. Richardson, do you think you would have been where you are if you had remained in Liberia?
Let me see. Let me just go back to my childhood a little bit in my
Mm-hmm.
head. Yes and no. Um, I had a very strong mom. I
Okay.
I I feel who pushed me. She didn't take nonsense. She would fight a man any day. she was no she's known in our family for you know uh, getting tough with guys. And I think that comes through me. Though my mother, was of, I believe, manifested what society wanted her to be, was a teacher. Uh, and so I think that sort of was ingrained in me. I wasn't encouraged by teachers, like you were saying. I know it was a man's world when I'm in classes. Guys were always deucing the classes, although there were times girls did the work as well.
Mm.
But I always had that fighting nature inside of me, and a very patient and humble fighting nature inside of me. And that comes to the discussion. I think we can share this a little bit,
Mm.
because we hear a lot of people on Spoon always say, why do you stay on Spoon? When all those men are just aggressive, they talk to you anyway. And but you stay there, and some good friends of mine would be like, if you were me, I'd be gone a long time ago. Um, I think as a psychologist, I believe in analyzing situation and also respecting people for who they are. I believe everyone on Spawn, all of the panelists represent someone in Liberia here, despite the ones that we don't like. And I think they should have a voice. And so for me to come on and start downplaying someone, it's
Or
just not.
leaving a show because
Yes,
of
or leaving the
someone.
show because it's a man's world. Then I think this is exactly what society wants. They want to hear only a man. And so what will happen if I leave? What's going to happen to the voice of a woman? Because if you actually, sometimes when you watch the show previously, and when you even watch the show, sometimes I feel like when I'm not there, and this is my perception, it's just guys are just talking.
Yeah. And women are glad when they see you there because that way they are happy that there is a woman there that will talk for women. Or
Yes.
the fact that there is a female representation on the show, it
Yes.
gives women the courage to be like, yeah. At times, don't be surprised, Dr. Richardson, that there are people just watching to look at your hair, to look at your makeup, but then there are people learning also from
Sure.
you, and they are encouraged that, if Dr. Richardson can be on the show, I can try and see if I can get on a show too and be able to communicate. So you are bringing it out in helping other women to, have that self-esteem, which
Yes.
you are saying. So somebody would just be in the corner and say, I'm wondering if Dr. Richardson is going to come to Liberia and run for a political office. Because we need women, we need tough women, you just said women representation in the government.
This Lorena woman, they're asking tough question, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. We need that.
This is why we call her Lady Lorraine. Um, and actually, I want to say something before I answer this
Okay.
question. I wanted to say thank you too for all that you do. You're one of the few women on air who play a role represent women very well. So I'm very thankful that you share this space as well.
Thank you.
This space isn't quite open to us. It's tough. It's a tough space to be in. I can tell. So how many times after the show I went in the background and cried and sent a nasty text message to my fellow car panelists on the show, like, I'm not quitting. And obviously
Yeah.
the CEO will call me back and say, yeah, okay, right, you're quitting. And or he, just recently he sent a very, I think, appreciative message saying, thank you for taking the bullets, because now we can bring other women on the show. Had you quit, we wouldn't have learned how to work. Wouldn't have known how to work with women, because we just thought everything was okay in our own world. We didn't see your perspective. And so a lot of times on the show, you often find you say, "Yo, hold on, doctor. We just have to say, let our only sister say something." Or now, not only him, but all of them have to say something. But your question, um, Lorena, I'm despite I think maybe I have a good Kipman gene or
Okay.
whatever title, whatever. I'm I'm retiring. I'm getting ready to retire uh,
From the
from life, from my career life,
okay.
and so their question is if I'm going to get involved
Start a new career here
career.
in politics.
That's something to seriously consider. I've been a working mom. My children, I was working, and I just want to spend time with my family. I want to enjoy my husband, enjoy the rest of our time here, just reading, publishing, those kind of things. I like politics. Don't I actually have a master's degree in politics as
Mm,
well. So this is not new for me. I've always liked to intertwine the study of behavior with the study of system governance.
okay.
I think those two things back. So I still have yet. I'm still growing. So I don't know if I have a yes or no answer for you yet. But
Okay.
I think I like to look at the need for something. If there's a need
There
for
is a
it,
need. There is a need because you're looking at the society already. You see Liberia, you see what is going on. There are women in government, but like somebody said, I won't call her name, said some of the females, in fact, most of them are just there to serve tea. She made it sound that way, but it's like they don't really have the voices. You try to be the few tough ones will need support of other tougher
oh
ones
yes.
so that this country, we don't want it to just look one-sided
Mm-hmm.
because it starts from in our homes and then
Yes.
it gets out there, and at times you go out, a male can talk to a female anyhow and people look and the woman cannot respond. And I had this experience when I
Mm-hmm.
went to Guapulu,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw this older woman. She talked to me, she kept staring at me, so I decided to just have a little communication.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw tears in her eyes. I was like, Mom, why do you look so sad?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I said, is this your house? She said, yes, that's her house. And then she
Mm-hmm.
said her husband died.
Yeah.
And then after her husband, she said she and her husband worked together for lots of some of the properties that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
But then after her husband died, then this person, I think they said his father was the one that established Guapulu.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went and took some of the properties back. I think they just left her with a little hut
Look at
and a
that.
little one. They took a gas station. Just imagine a gas
Look at
station that
that.
could help that woman. They took it from her. So I said, so how can you get it back? She said she tried, but then even her son tried to talk and they beat her son up.
Look at you.
She had to send him back to Monrovia so that they wouldn't hurt him. And then she started crying and she couldn't continue. So I said, what? Just talk to me and all that. She said she can't continue because it's traditional. The traditional leaders will come in. The traditional leaders will come in. She can't continue. She can't say more. So I was like, so this traditional thing is still, so much. People saying, oh, yes, it's a civilized world now, but like Africa
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, still
Mm-hmm.
that way. Now, you have girls, yes,
Four of
only
them.
girls, four girls,
Four.
no boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I can
One
imagine you are
grandson.
you are one grandson. Okay, so the ladies are bringing in the men.
Yes.
They will bring
They
in the
know.
boys for
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
All right, so people.
So feel sorry for my husband because he
His
has to
name,
deal. He has
his
to deal
name.
5 hours.
And
Ibrahim.
then the people say like Nigeria, they would say, when will this woman give our family name, our family name? But I like the way things are going now. People just want to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we want to say to a single mother
Mm-hmm.
that is struggling right now with lots of children? There are men with money in this country that don't give attention to women that they have children by.
Mm.
They don't, so what will you say to this woman? Her dreams have been shattered. She's not going to go to school. She can't do the kind of business she wants to do because she doesn't have the support.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you talk to this woman that will help her raise great children, and still not be traumatized or put the trauma on them? Because some of the women, the single parents,
Mm-hmm.
women, they can better leave their anchor on the children and traumatize the children as well.
That's true. That is so true. And that is a good point about how we don't let our trauma be multi-generation. Like just stop the cycle of abuse is basically what we call that.
Okay.
And I want to say to that single woman, your life is not easy. I don't want to minimize it and say that you have no support husband left. um, Sometimes it's hard to make ends meet. So a lot of times, maybe somebody like me, expert, or I don't live your life, will say, "Oh, you can do okay, everything okay." Everybody, somebody being here before, you're not the first, another will be the last. Will want to suffer like this. I want to just say to you, just do the best that you can every day. Take it day by day. If you're a spiritual person, I believe it or not, a lot of people don't know I don't wear my spirituality on my face. Um, Use that, whatever brings you comfort. If it's spirituality, if it's talking to yourself, if it's talking to a good friend, use that mode, okay, that medium to to bring you comfort. In terms of the children, um, and again, I'll use myself. I raised four girls. My youngest is 16.
Mm.
While I was in school, I believe I was graduating with my doctorate degree. It was I think I had just had either my second child at age, I had my first child at age 30. So I got my doctorate degree at age 30. So I think she was born my oldest child. So imagine I was juggling with school, having relationship difficulty. I'm no different than any other
Mm.
woman who had challenges with men in relationship as well. Um, but I kept my mind focused and my children was primed to me. You
Mm.
got to talk to those kids. Let them know. Don't hide. I made sure I cried in front of them. I made sure that we were struggling. They knew that they came from struggle. Nowadays when they're talking, I say, remember those days when we were struggling, so you got to be open with them and let yourself be a sense of future for them. Okay. There are days when I will let everybody go to bed, make sure everything was okay, and then I'll go in the room and cry. They
Mm.
cried my heart cried and I wanted to cry because I couldn't do it in front of them because I had to be a sense of hope for them. And remember that one of the things I always said to myself, this shall pass too. That was my way of comforting myself because I don't talk a lot to when you're in the men's world, like I find myself in a lot. I'm one of the very few in the men's world most of the time. It's hard for us to find real friends that we can really empty ourselves because um for some reason I don't think sometimes people can relate to that world. So I don't really. I have some good close girlfriends, but I'm not the kind of person that I like. There's some women who they enjoy, which is nothing wrong with it. Shopping in groups, talking all day in groups, and all of those things. I I tend to have one or two friends that I just we don't need to laugh or talk. Couple good friends, and then I use those good friends to keep me centered a lot of times. But yes, the children are very important. Don't use your life like I always tell my girls. I have a blended family, so I told them, I said, you see what, I made some mistakes in relationship. I don't want you, and I'm very fair with them. I don't want you to
Mhm.
repeat the same thing. Don't be like your mommy in
Mhm.
this aspect, but be like your mommy in this aspect. And they'll learn, and so you want to stop that generation that abuse, that generation trauma, and so you talk to those children, cry with them when you can, talk to them is what I would advise,
Okay.
and tell yourself this shall pass too.
Yeah, and that will help them to have that security.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Dr. Richardson, let's look at violence against women in politics and other places of work,
Mm-hmm.
even in society. For us here, I always like to make
Yes, no,
reference
no,
because this
that's
is where I
fine.
am.
That's
We have in our communities, they say community leader, community leader. Almost every community I have lived in, the community leaders are men.
really,
Yes,
it's so funny. I would have thought it would have been women.
only men. They feel only the men can solve issues, and that's it. And then they corrupt. That's more corruption. They will
Mm-hmm.
collect money for this, collect money for that. When if a government official came into that community, they will be the ones in front of it to collect this. But they are not putting the people,
Mm-hmm.
views or
Mm-hmm.
their own points through.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is something that has been embarrassing for most of the communities. And then so when I visit some communities, I said, but why can't you people have female community leader?
Good
And they say,
question.
but the community leader thing for women is for men.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is something that is going on. And then there are so many violence that happen against women, and they will say, oh, they will just go and talk it peacefully. And that woman live with that trauma. She's there. I keep coming back with it because it is something that is happening right here in our society regularly, and nothing much is being done about it. So some women just live with that trauma, get all in it and die in it. They don't talk out and all that. So you not talking to them going through violence, be it the whatever they go through, the challenges in their workplaces, at homes, in the society. How can they tackle it? How can they outlive it? How can they move forward and still be positive
Yeah.
in society?
So I think the first thing when I'm doing this kind of training and in conversation with me, we talk about what causes sexual and gender-based violence.
Mm.
Two things that come to mind: power and control. If you really study and look at the men in your community, the reason why they are in charge because they like the power and they like to be in control. And they are not going to relinquish that power and control to a woman to lead. The best way that will work will be to say, oh, I want to be intentional about this. I want to bring in somebody else. Let me sit down now. But they're not going to do that. So that's what we know. And women have to be aware that this is about power and control. And the control is to keep not necessarily only women, but to keep anybody who they feel that is not up to their standard. Greed sometimes is part of that power and control, up to their standard, to keep that person down. Now, there are different, women have to be aware there are different types of abuse, okay, that can cause someone trauma. So a lot of times women, they'll be like, oh, well, the man just want to leave. Let him be the lead. He's doing a good job. No, that man is depriving you and maybe perhaps having you do all the work. A lot of times women are doing all the work while their men are taking the glory. That is abuse. Okay, there's different types of, there's verbal abuse, there's emotion where he's calling you names every day. You're not good enough. If you take a job, you'll not be good. You're not doing it like the way I would do it, man. You're not doing it like a man. That is putting you down as a person. That is verbal abuse. We got to be aware of that. That is also, then there's emotional abuse. A man just looking at you and making faces at you, like, who are you? Kind of like you singing a trash or dirt, calling you all of your names. That's sometimes in homes, the men not giving you money to support your children, or food money, or giving his own part of the support, because in other parts, I know in here maybe the men, the one who predominantly support the home, but in other parts of the world we try to do it, at least help our partners. Yeah, so that's emotional. Anytime they withheld, even not speaking to you, how you've been in a relationship with somebody, the person not speaking
they can
to you,
talk to you.
that emotional abuse. Okay. And there's physical abuse, the beating on the I was just driving through Bon County, and somebody was sharing with me. They said there's a tendency where when the men come first of all, they can act like they drunk, where they will take the woman to the farm, and that's what they will beat them really good before they come back to the village, because they know in the village when you're fighting, they will separate you. Somebody will come and say, oh, let part these people, but when they carry you to the village, you isolate again, be real good, and bring right back.
And that woman, she wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
Who would listen?
Wow, yes. Okay. And so women have to be aware. Now we have the cyber abuse where they're taking the telephone. Give me your phone. Let me see who you've been calling. Or I will go to Orange and get a number and see who you've been calling. I don't want to pay any phone bill. That is cyber abuse. And we also have spiritual abuse. Oh, you can't go to church. What are you doing to the church? That church that I go into, they can just be talking about me all day. And I know today you're not going to church. Those are all of the different types of abuse that we need to make women aware that this is what you're experiencing. Now, I always say with everything, it takes time to change. Change is a process. It takes time to change. But once we start to get women aware and talk to them individually, have billboards in our country about this. I've been looking around. I think I saw a few billboards with wine on it. I saw one that talked about breastfeeding. A lot of somebody's birthday on it.
Or contraceptive.
Yeah, contraceptive. But let's put something about sexual and gender-based violence. That should be a radio station, some kind of jingle. People going out to speak to women about these issues, just to bring their awareness. I think once we give women the awareness and also men the awareness, this is what you're doing that causing harm to not only your family, but to your unborn generation. I just want to take a brief second to talk about trauma. Trauma sends shock to the system. A lot of us don't realize it's something that is very difficult to overcome, because there's delayed trauma, which means that we won't see it right away when something happened to you. And then there's also trauma that shows up years later. Okay, like you're talking about this lady, and so it bothers the chemistry in the body. This is how we know that it's bad, because we can regulate it. It causes heart attack. It affects your stress level, your different hormonal system. It affects all of those things. So trauma is really, really bad. When I see women in the United States, immigrant women, who a lot of them sometimes are from Liberia, and they tell me their story about how they were involved in the relationship, the tradition, and sometimes while they were in the culture, they were just getting by, they were just existing as opposed to living. And now when we start to unfold and sort of peel this different trauma, we see all of the things that the abuse that they took, how sometimes it affects their sex life.
Hmm.
It affects every part. They was like, I don't even want to be part of men. That's where they are in the older age where they should be enjoying. And that's how it is. So trauma, and it can be generational. Once a woman is traumatized, it affects her children, her output to her children, how she can love those children, how she can talk to them. She becomes withdrawn. She can isolate sometimes. It affects every single aspect of her life, her productivity. So it's so important that men get involved with making sure that we participate in stopping abuse.
All right, Dr. Richardson, I want you to please touch a little bit in this female genital mutilation
Oh,
that is going on here in Liberia. This child, 11 years old, the other time was just caught because she and her friends, when they heard celebration noise, and they said, "Oh, let's just go there to see." And then they took that child and did what they wanted to do with her, and she was affected so badly. But the family has been calling and talking and sending out there, but nothing has been done about it. But it's our tradition, among some tribes in Liberia, because it's not all of the tribes.
yes.
And
Beautiful.
then nothing is being done about this. So to just let you know, you just talk about trauma, what people are living with, because people are just grieving, and nobody is out there to say anything.
Yeah. So actually, I spent a lot of time reading and writing about FGM, female genital circumcision. And the reason why I do that, because in the United States laws, they have a specific portion of that law that protects women who've been under FGM. And so, in order for me to sometimes write reports that support women to get their citizenship or even green card, I have to know more about that law. So I want to say something about tradition. I respect our tradition. As a child, my mother is from Mecca district.
Okay.
Okay, I have a very Bai family. My father is from Rawsport Kidma. Somebody can say maybe the, the Congo part of the family. Um, um, and so one of the things I'm grateful for my mother is, as a child, she used to take us. That time we used to have breaks in December. I don't know. I know school system have changed, but we used to have our
Yeah,
school
we
break.
do still have breaks in December
No,
here.
we had long. That was our longest break.
No, no,
Yeah,
not
you're going to the American system now. September, yes, that we yeah. So
yeah.
that's how old I am, Lorena. So we had our longest break in December, and so during that break, she would take us up. Like somebody has mentioned, it's amazing to have Babalu now as a county, but Bobalu is near that. We used to go to Bobalu and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I'm very familiar with some of and also there was the Mandingo aspect,
Okay.
Islamic aspect. My grand aunt, who happens to be the cohort Zoe in the area, was also married Islamic man.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched, some of the cultural piece, and I like them. I like that. I've been seeing it as a child. My grandmother came to the house regularly where we live in Beaumont. She was a very cultural person, didn't speak English fluently. So there, but there was that caring nature, and they going to the farm every day, coming home, and then of course the girls in the girl bush, and stuff like that. So I know. So there are certain part of that culture that I like, the part that they teach us certain things. Okay, how to be a woman, the feminism part of
Mm-hmm.
you, how to not necessarily take care of a home for a man, but cleanliness.
Mm-hmm. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, take care of yourself. There's a sense of womanhood within that as well. I saw they would isolate in a village when I go there for, they would isolate the girls where they would keep them together, and they had to depend and support each other. That a lot of them, later on, and when I talk to the women nowadays, they say, "Oh, we spend a lot of time singing under the moonlight, just dancing, talking stories." So I think that created a sense of bonding. Now, the other side that I think that is detrimental to a woman is when we mutilate a woman's private part. That means when we cut. And there's different parts of that. We know there's different. Sometimes I've testified in court where they will actually cut the whole thing. And there's parts depending on your cultural person where they only cut maybe just the clitoris. I'm sorry when some of
Mm-hmm.
you who
Yeah,
are
yeah,
listening to
exactly.
the show. This is adult conversation right
Mm-hmm.
now. Um, And so what it does to you as a person, it creates trauma for you. That means that you will always be in fear of somebody touching you.
Mm.
Anytime it comes to this women, I'm telling you what these women are telling me. Anytime it comes to some love or relationship type issues, because one woman told me, she said, I just was watching TV and the people were talking about love, and I saw two men and I just started crying. And she said, that's because I can't feel. And the reason why they do this to tell us is because they, in their mind, it makes the woman less promiscuous because all of the nerve endings, the sexual pleasure
Everything is cut off.
is in, yes, it's cut off. So the man gets to take advantage over a woman's body, because if she's not feeling pleasure, you can do whatever you want to
Hmm.
do with her. Okay. Now, is that the kind of woman we want in our society? I don't think men themselves want that kind of woman where you can just say jump on her and she say I'm ready to go. Like something called ever ready battery. I don't think we don't want that kind of woman that will be functioning the ever ready battery for you. And the second part of that is, like you just mentioned, this little girl. People can get, a lot of women told me they got very sick because whatever they used to cut them was not, the antibiotic, it wasn't clean enough. Okay. It caused them deformity in the private area. There's a couple of women that I know in the States right now that they had to have surgery to correct those areas
Hmm.
because how they cut it, and then they got infected. It caused deformity, so that made this woman shame. Another third thing that I observe, when they go give birth to their babies, especially maybe in this world, our nurses, our midwives, and gynecologists, they are accustomed to seeing a woman being cut. When you leave in on the other side,
Hmm.
one woman described to me, she said she felt like a guinea pig because the person who delivered her was calling everybody like he had never seen a woman prior part cut before. So he was calling, and he thought something went wrong. So he was calling the other staff to come and see what happened, how she looked. And she said, I felt so embarrassed. And further pregnancy became complicated because she was so nervous to go give birth, because she didn't want people looking at her like like some kind of specimen or something like that. So we really have to consider, yes, there are some good things about our tradition that I really love. I think traditions tend to have some good parts and some bad parts. um, but I think we really need to revisit this FGM thing. It
Hmm.
has so much. I mean, the purpose, what is the purpose of it, is actually what we need to ask ourselves. And again, I don't think, in today's world, I don't think a man just want to have a woman that you can just have in bed with you, that she can just
Yeah,
be going like,
seriously.
you can just want her up.
That mean anybody can even have her, and
Yeah,
she can just go because no feeling.
yeah.
You won't satisfy her. She probably
No.
want to try another person to see if that person will satisfy her. No way, the same
And
thing.
that's what a woman described. That she's like, it's like a a crack, an addiction that I'm always chasing. It can have the effect that you have. You can be a promiscuous woman
Hmm.
because you just chasing that feeling, like the feeling that you're supposed to have.
Mhm.
Or you can be a woman who was drawn from this matter. Yeah,
Completely.
yeah.
All right, Dr. Richardson, before we leave,
Hmm.
how can you tell girls, young girls and women about how to get their peace and security?
Peace and security. So we started off this conversation, so we just coming to go right back to where we ended. So like I said to you, there's inner peace where you feel the sense of contentment, and there's different level of this sense of contentment. When you're a young woman, you want to be with the in crowd. uh, your peers will say stuff about you, uh, gossip about you, and those things can disturb your inner peace, because you'll be like, oh, I'm not fine. You can't cry to your mouth. Well, I'm looking like how my friend looking, my hair not long, I got this t-shirt, I got clothes and stuff like that. That's disturbing of your inner peace. But I want to tell you, young girls, it's a stage that we all have been through. Your mother been through that stage. Dr. Richardson been that stage. All of the women go through those stages. The only thing you have to stay. One of the things that helped me, and I believe that it will work for you. You need to also keep your eye on your goals. What do you want? When those people are talking about you, you know, oh, you're not fine, you're not pretty, if you want to study to be a journalist, to be a nurse, to even be someone like a chef, whatever it is, doctor, lawyer, there's so many different. keep your eye, or if you just want to study to get 100 in the test or 80 in the test to pass the test, okay, just keep focusing. And that's what, the whole while I was going through problem with my trauma and marriage, I kept on saying, one day I'll get the last laugh. One day I'm going to stand in front of that. Who I wasn't doing it for anybody, but one day I was standing in front of the world and I would get the laugh. And I want to tell you that, you young woman who's going through whatever struggle it is, whether someone's laughing at you, whether you think you're not fitting in, whether you're not getting good clothes to wear, people making fun, whether you're not passing, just keep focusing, keep trying. When anybody tell you that you're not good enough, prove them wrong. I like proving wrong. Be competitive, okay? And one day you will get the last laugh.
All right. So lastly, I keep
Mhm.
saying lastly, how can women support each other
Oh,
positively? Because we are the ones that bring each other down, especially here in Liberia.
yes. What an excellent question. And unfortunately, we don't have so much time to discuss that. That is so much needed. How can we support each other? Let's look at. I want to say, I look at my hand all of the time, and I look at all my fingers are not equal.
Mhm.
Okay, so when I see my friend doing things, the most we can do for that person, believe it or not, being positive, makes you a positive person. Don't start saying, "Oh, where she got this from? Who she thinks she is?" That's all negativity. Refrain from the negativity, which is easy to do. As human, it's human nature for us to be negative first, because and we also, it's human nature for us to remember negative things. Work on the positivity. Smile more. I like your dress. I like the way you speak, even though you don't speak like the person. Oh, thank you for coming in. You know,
Mhm.
those kind of
These
things.
are
If
all
women,
supporting
yes,
comments.
supportive comments. If we women do that more, okay, I think will help push each other up as opposed to bring each other down. We will not get it perfectly. Recognize that women are at different stages of their own identity. Some of us, we are maybe strong in our identity in terms of where I speak, because different factors added to that. Some of us, we are just starting off. Some of us don't even know that we are still blind. Okay, so remember that women are at different stages. So you have to be the one to say, I don't know what happened to this woman last night. I don't know where she's been, but I'm here to be the positive person for her. I'm trying to be a light bulb for this person. And that's kind of how my mentality, even when I have to, I work with a lot of students, I have to give feedback all the time. When I have to fail somebody, okay, or tell them you didn't do well today on this test,
Hmm.
I often start off the positive comments and intertwine the negative comments. I say, oh, come in my office, let's talk a little bit. That I'll write a little note to them, email them and say, let's talk a little bit. And they come in and say, you know what, I want to just thank you for, first of all, coming to class. Thank you for turning your papers. I know you have some challenges. Let's talk. What do you think was the most challenging part of this exam? Okay.
Wow.
How do you think we can help? What do we think we can do better? If I give you the opportunity to do this exam, how do you think over again? How do you think you can do it? So I'm
Hmm.
giving them an opportunity to prove themselves to me. Is there anything going on in your life that is stopping you from being the best you that you have done? What stopped you from doing well on this exam? And I kind of have that approach with even employees. I have students that I supervise. I do the same approach. They always wonder, like, Dr. Richardson, how do you just stay so positive all the time?
Wow.
But it just becomes a part of you, because this is a negative world. The world
Some,
was designed that way.
some professors might just be that. That one is just dull.
No,
Okay.
no, no, nobody is dull.
But some people say they have
Yeah,
said it to so many people. Some of my
yeah.
classmates they have said that one is just dull. I don't even expect anything from this student.
Ah,
Yeah, I've heard I sat in class and yet and saying it to students.
I'll be fired,
Hmm.
and I'll be because if a student feels it flags me, that means something I'm not doing right.
But there are professors that they don't want many students to pass
Why?
because then that way it
Power
is
greed.
like either maybe they spy or they cheated, to make those grades.
So it's a systemic issue. I'll tell you that. So at the end of the semester, believe it or not, Lorena, my students for the past 19 years in academia, they get to evaluate me, and that evaluation goes to the dean of my department and the president of the university. So if those students, if I'm failing my students and they're not passing, my dean asks me, well, what kind of teaching you doing that everybody failing? This place is a place of learning. you know. So my methodology in teaching has to make sure. that it's not free. I want you to learn. Okay, and understand that different people have different ways of learning. And I don't just give people free grades. I have to share with you this. And I think that, and we'll stop very soon. I think the fact that I'm in another part of the world where being a woman is not only um, uh, um, I don't even get the issue of discrimination, but being a person of color, a black woman,
Mm.
I'm double dose. Not only am I a woman, but I'm a black woman. So a lot of times I walk in a class and my students are mostly white. Let me just tell you, I work at a majority white institution that's been around since 1920. By the it's a Catholic private institution. So they have this mentality that a black person is going to be tough on them. It's going to be hard. So as soon as I walk in, they feel like I'm going to fail the class already. I already finished failing the class because this woman, yeah, she coming to be hard on us. And so I have to work on, no, I'm not going to fail you just because of what you look like. I'm going to fail you based on your output. And then we're going to have a conversation as to why you feel it. It could be that I taught something that you didn't understand. I have to take responsibility for my teaching and the way that I relate to people. So we want to put all of that in terms of how we relate to women, how women relate to each other. You have to take responsibility for why is it that you are not supportive of another woman. If you have a friend and that friend is feeling like you putting her down or feeling like you jealous of her, have that conversation. So let's talk. Let's understand why is it that we don't support each other, and maybe that would be a good place to start.
Hopefully, one of these days, not in the too long, distant future, Dr. Richardson will have a firm here in Liberia where everybody can come and learn and, we can grow positively. Um, the fact that all of what we are hearing from you and what we are learning, we are hoping that one of these days, one of these years,
Yes.
Dr. Richardson, you will have a firm here in Liberia.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I watched another program here. I think I used to participate. I think it's a Thursday mental health show that Spoon carries as
Yeah.
well. And I've been participating. I want to thank them, those two participants
Yeah.
for doing that show as well.
Yeah.
I visited the Grand Hospital. Thank you, staff at Grand Hospital. That's what we have. So we have to
Okay.
work with it.
Okay.
One day, hopefully, we'll get to the place mechanism where we can maybe through many support of everybody where we can provide a first class mental health facility for adult and children. Yeah, I'll pray for that.
Wow.
I'll
Pray
pray
for
for
that.
that. Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So, Dr. Richardson would like to say thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you. I am honored in my career to be able to sit and, communicate with you on air. I'm still going to do more off air. I don't mind learning more and more. No knowledge is wasted. I appreciate your time. We thank you for being on Spoon FM with us in studio because we know you're going to be on tonight.
Yes, yes,
On
yes.
Spoon Talk. So we are glad to have one of the panelists, and that's the female representation on Spoon Talk, and that is Dr. Francine C. Richardson. Thank you for being here, Dr. Richardson.
Thank you.
And my name is Lorena Honoré. I've already eaten some of the time of the next program. So let me say thank you for being there and do have for you and your family a wonderful weekend. No, let me not leave without saying, hey, always put God first in whatever you do. Until you hear from me again, bye-bye.
Thank you.
New, urban, ethical, authentic, sports, entertainment, something for the old, something for the new, something for everybody in between. We leave nothing untouched. We are